You are too close to yourself to see yourself as you need to. And it's funny how much of life is actually just a battle against yourself. We don't just see with our eyes, our mind also sees. Is true connection possible if we only ever experience our minds? You're not tripping. I'm probably the one who's tripping, but it's fine. Some time ago, I thought about this phrase and I have been thinking about it for a while now, as is everything that I post on this podcast. And the phrase that I've been thinking about is you are too close to yourself to see yourself as you need to. When I say this phrase out loud, there are so many instances that come to mind immediately. The first thing is that when you're too close to yourself, such that you are yourself, you see yourself every day, you experience yourself every day, you are with yourself every single day of your life, you forget just how extraordinary you are. I'll give you a simple example. The fact that you actually, not metaphorically, but actually visually see yourself in the mirror every other day, several times a day even. The fact that you can get access to your reflection any time you want to, and you get to see yourself every single day or multiple times a day, means that you end up not appreciating your beauty, your own physical appearance, as other people might. I'm sure you felt this before. You don't see yourself to be as beautiful or as handsome as other people might see you to be. And this is not to say to make you feel vain or something like that, but it's to remind you that even with such a visual metaphor, like just actually seeing yourself, it goes deeper than that, because even metaphorically, you are too close to yourself that you don't see the good qualities in yourself. When you keep on looking at yourself in the mirror, you start to pick out your flaws. You start to pick out the things you don't like about yourself, the things you don't see as perfect, the things which you would want to change. You start seeing the shape of your nose. You start seeing the way your face is asymmetrical. You start seeing that one eye is bigger than the other, as a result of seeing yourself way too much, as a result of being way too close to yourself. And it goes even into how we see ourselves in other areas of our lives, how we see our determination, how we see our resilience, how we see our good qualities. We tend to not see our good qualities. We tend to overlook our good qualities and see where we have fallen short, see our flaws, see where we're not doing things completely right or perfectly. And when I say this, I recognize that it's important for someone to see where they're going right and where they're going wrong so that they can be able to keep a nice balance. You should not look too much onto your rights and forget that you are a human being, you have wrongs, and you should not look too much on your faults that you start to see yourself as someone who doesn't deserve to be here. You have to strike a balance. And I guess this episode is specifically for the moments when you are seeing faults in yourself, and when you look in the mirror, all you see is faults. When you look at your own life, all you see are your mistakes and regrets and every other thing that went wrong. The reason why negative things stand out so prominently in our brains is because our brains are just wired to look for the problem so that we can fix the problem, to look for what's going wrong. It's an evolutionary instinct. You've always been wired to look for the danger, and sometimes your brain confuses even normal things like just having a regret or having a fault as danger, and it focuses on that instead of seeing the things that you have accomplished. And it becomes worse if you are a perfectionist, because as a perfectionist you might get a lot of things right in your life, but you'll always be focusing on the black spots. You'll always be focusing on the dots that you need to erase. You'll never really take time to see that you have done a lot of good, and there's so many things that you have done right. You'll always try and focus on what you haven't done or what you haven't been perfect at. You are too close to yourself to see yourself as you need to. I think this phrase also goes both ways. Sometimes you can be too close to yourself that you do not want to accept that you have faults. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone who always feels like they have to be right about something. They can never be wrong, and they don't really take criticism or being told they're wrong in the right way. And for such people, most of the times it's because the criticism feels like a personal attack. It does not feel like you're just telling them something that they can be better at. It feels like you're telling them they are the problem and they are the ones who need to be different. While that's not really the case, it's just maybe something small that they need to fix. And I truly get it, because when you're too close to yourself, you find that Okay, everyone is too close to themselves, everyone is themselves. You find that you only see life from your perspective. So when you make decisions, you consider yourself first and you make the decisions from your perspective. And most times you do not consider other people's perspectives. You can never really truly know other people's perspectives fully. So sometimes you end up disregarding them and not considering them at all. And so you make your decisions, right? And to you, your decisions are right. And let's say the decision that you've made has rubbed the wrong way with someone else. It's important for you to see other people's perspectives, because when you're too close to yourself, you feel like you are the only one who matters. Recently, it struck me just how much I am not the main character. Okay, I think it's so easy to be lost in your own world that you think you are the main character, not just in your life, but in other people's lives. And when I say it struck me, it's not like a shocker moment. It's more of the realization dawned on me. Because whenever I'd a simple example, whenever I'd, for example, post something on social media, I would be so self-aware and I would keep on checking and keep on going back to what I've posted to see whether it's okay, to see how it's doing. And I always thought that I weirdly felt like in my head, everyone was waiting for me to just post that video. And then when the video gets like 200 views, it's messing with my brain. It's messing with my thinking, because I'm like, everyone was waiting for this because I am the main character, but I forget that I am the main character in my life, And when you have that mindset where you only see yourself, it can be very easy for you to think that you are the righteous one and you are the one who is always right, and they are the ones who just don't see it. But sometimes, and most of the times, two truths can exist at the same time. Your perspective can be right and their perspective can be right. And I feel like you need to consider that as you make decisions in your life. You need to at least consider the other person's perspective. I'm not saying that you're supposed to make your decisions to satisfy or to make other people happy while you yourself are suffering, but you need to see all sides of the lens. Look through all sides of the lens and just see that there are multiple perspectives. It's so important also to decenter yourself and to center yourself. It's so funny because most of life just requires us to have like a freakish balance of things. You need to center yourself but also decenter yourself. You need to love yourself but not too much such that you're vain. You need to do this and do that, be this way and be that way, and it's kind of hard to balance the balance. But I think it takes making mistakes and learning. It's not about getting it right all the time. It's about just wanting to be better and being open to seeing that you can be better. I feel like this is the most random podcast episode. I'm literally seated on the edge of my mom's bed. I have my slippers on. I'm just staring at the bathroom door and I'm talking about a topic that I've not drafted out. I have not written down notes or pointers. I'm just speaking from my head right now because I feel like I need to speak. You're too close to yourself to see yourself as you need to. You're too close to yourself that you see that you're not beautiful. You see that you're not handsome. You think you're not attractive because you're too close to yourself. Okay, in the most superficial of ways, that's the first thing it can mean. And we've already said that you're too close to yourself to see that you make mistakes. So you think you're the righteous one. You think you're the one who always does things the right way, but you forget that in any situation, there are multiple sides of the lens through which you can see different perspectives. You're too close to yourself to see that you have achieved a lot and that you have done so much that is worth applauding. You keep on seeing the faults, you keep on seeing the mistakes. Maybe you're a perfectionist, so that comes out even more strongly. And I think sometimes life requires us to just step a bit outside of ourselves. You see, do you know the word sonda? Sonda is the realization that every stranger you meet, every other person has a world as complex, as big, as wide as your own, and you in their world stand as a background figure and not a main character. So when you realize that sonda is not just true in the sense that everyone has a unique, complex life, but it's also true in the fact that you don't really matter as much to people as you think you do. In anybody's life, whether it's your parents, whether it's your partner, whether it's your sister, your sibling, your brother, whoever it is, you are never the first main character, because you can never be, they are the only ones who are the main characters, because they experience, their thoughts, their life is theirs, their experiences are theirs, their past, the future is theirs. But you might be someone significant to them, but you're never the main character. And I think when you realize that, it can set you free in a lot of ways. One, you will be more willing to step out and embarrass yourself. You'll be more willing to take risks, because I feel like sometimes the reason why we don't take risks is because we're afraid of being seen, and being seen trying, and being seen giving it a chance, giving it a shot, being seen, being bold. And I don't know why our concept of other people is so messed up. I don't know why we always think other people are the ones to judge us, other people are the ones to see us as cringe. We always make it seem as if other people are the enemies. And what I've come to realize is that most times people are actually more kind and considerate than you expect. Of course, there's the 1-2 people who are actually just mean and they are just off, and that is that. But there's also a majority of people, a large number of people who are more supportive than you can imagine. This is something that's just come to me, and let's unpack it a little bit. For example, when you are going through a hard time and you are thinking of whether or not to reach out to someone, in your head, it's likely that the first thing you'll think is that by reaching out to someone, I am being an inconvenience to them. I'm inconveniencing them. Maybe they were busy. Maybe they did not really want to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and I really need a lot of time to talk about it. You just feel like you're being a burden to them. And if you ask majority of people, you ask someone, for example, a friend of yours or a sibling or a family member, if I came to you and I just needed someone to help me work things out, there's something I've been trying to figure out, would you give me a listening ear? Most times they would say yes. And most times people like to be approached in that way, and people like to feel helpful. People like to give help. And I don't know why in our heads we usually set it such that people are the enemy. Is it that people are the enemy, or we are the enemies to ourselves, and we give the name people to the enemy inside of us? For example, when you criticize yourself, when you talk bad about yourself, or you put yourself down, you most times don't do it in your own voice. You do it in other people's voices as a way of you being the victim, while in the real sense you are the villain and the victim at the same time. So it's funny that we always think of other people as the villains and the enemies and the evil. For example, if you want to do something that requires you to be bold, let's say you want to take your shot with content, for example, and you require to be bold, of course, to be able to go for such a dream that requires you to expose yourself to a lot of people's opinions, a lot of people's eyes. The first thing you'll think is that people are gonna judge me. And as we've said, the people in this case is just you against yourself. It's you judging yourself and then calling that villain in you people. And most times, if you come across a video of your friend who's trying to do content, you'll most likely support them, unless they're not your friend and you don't know them at all, or unless you don't like them, maybe you're enemies or something. But most times, a friend will support a friend. A true friend will support a friend. Yes, in many scenarios, of course, these things that we are afraid people will do to us are actually true. They do happen. But what I've just come to notice is that the majority of people are nice. They're nicer than we think they are. And maybe it's time we try and shift the narrative, and instead of being like, people are gonna judge me when they see me trying, what if you switch that up and you were like, people are gonna be motivated by me trying. People are going to go for their dreams because I'm going for mine. Why not? Why not shift that internal talk into something positive? Or something like, you need to reach out to a friend for help, you need someone to talk to. Instead of saying, I'm going to be burdening them, I'm going to be an inconvenience to them, why don't you think they will love to help me? They will want to be there for me, just like I would love to help them if they were in the same situation. Maybe in a way, by thinking like that, we can be able to lessen the burden on ourselves and to stop holding ourselves back by blaming other people. There is no other people. There are no other people in this question. It's just you against yourself. And it's funny how much of life is actually just a battle against yourself, you know? There's this thing I was yet again thinking about a few days ago. It's the fact that you only ever experience your life. You only ever experience your mind. Your life is a reflection of your mind. Your eyes are just, they're a body part. They are organs. They see because you've opened your eyes and some physics has happened. Light went through your cornea. There's some reflection going on, and you can see. But we know that the word see means two different things. It means the act or the ability of perceiving whatever is around you visually, but it also means how you perceive the things. For example, you can look at one object and see it differently based on a couple of things. For example, let's say I buy you a teddy bear. I give you the teddy bear and you just look at the teddy bear and all you see is a teddy bear. And then something happens. Let's say you have a bad dream and the dream is a nightmare containing a teddy bear. And now when you look at the teddy bear, you don't just see the teddy bear, you see your dream, you see your nightmare. I feel like that was not the best example. Let's try and find something else. You see a uniform. That's, let's say, before you go to high school. You see a uniform for a school and you don't really recognize the school. Or you might recognize the school, but you've never studied there. It's just a uniform. And then you go to the high school, you experience the high school and you finish school, and then you're shown the same uniform. You are seeing the same uniform that you saw, let's say, 4 years ago, but you're not seeing it the same way. 4 years ago, it was just something that you really didn't have any connection to. But right now, when you look at it, when you're done with high school, you are not just seeing the uniform, you're seeing your memories. You are seeing the challenges you went through in high school. You are getting memories and flashbacks. You're getting moments of joy and moments of sadness when you just look at something. So what does that show you? It shows you that we don't just see things. We don't just see with our eyes. Our mind also sees. And everybody who's alive has a mind, okay? Everyone who's alive, it doesn't matter whether you're disabled or not, you have a mind. For you to be alive, you have a brain. And if you have a brain, you have a mind, right? And it is through your mind that you see the world. It is through your mind that you perceive the world. Because when you're looking at life, when you're looking at things around you, your brain is not just seeing objects. You're not just seeing a table, a chair, a person passing by. You're trying to form connections between them. You're seeing a table which is usually in your room, a table which you have done your assignments on multiple times. You're seeing a mirror which you usually carry in your bag. Your brain is trying to form connections every single second. And so that's the same thing with experiences, with people. You don't just see people, you try and form connections in your brain to those people, to those experiences. You try and interpret everything that you see, and it's so unconscious that you don't notice you're doing it. So where was I going with this? The bottom line that I was supposed to get to was that we don't all see life the same way. The way you see life is objective to your experiences and who you are as a person, your past, your present, everything you have gone through, your memories, the way you think, your personality, that all of that affects how you see your life. And every other person has a life. Every other person is a main character in their own life. Every other person is a main character, and in their life, you are not a main character. And the fact that we all see life differently means that we can never really be on the same plane. I don't know if that hits home. I'm really trying to make this as simple as it can be. If you never see things as they are, you see things as you are. You know that quote is, I don't know if it can get any truer than that. You don't see things as they are. You see them as you are. Because life itself, as you look at life, it's a mirror reflecting you back to yourself. It's a mirror reflecting you back to yourself. I need that to sink in. I need you to sit with that for a moment and let that sink in, because I am getting like tingly toes and I'm starting to feel excited because I feel like I'm about to word this perfectly, and I hope it doesn't slip away from me. Life is a mirror, and it mirrors you back to yourself. Because for you to look at life, you have to look through your mind. So when you look through your mind, it's just like when you have sunglasses or for example, tinted sunglasses, pink tinted sunglasses. So when you look through the pink tint, the life that you see is life. It is actually what exists around you. If you put on the tinted glasses, you will still see the same door that was in front of you, but it's not the same shade. It's slightly different based on the color of the lens. And here's the thing. unless you don't have a lens, what you have in front of you has to change. Even if your lens is clear, it has to be distorted even the tiniest bit, even just a little. It has to be distorted. As long as you put a lens in front of your eye, something has to be distorted. Even with fake spectacles, for actual spectacles for people with sight problems, when they put them in front of their eyes, you actually see things either get closer or farther depending on the defects that they have, whether myopia or hypermetropia. Kudos to my biology lessons in high school. I don't even believe I've just remembered that. But based on whether you're short-sighted or long-sighted, the lenses that you put in front of your eyes will change what you see by some distance, right? But even with fake sunglasses, like just shades that you buy just for decoration, when you put them in front of your eyes, they shift. Stuff shifts just a little, not even a lot, just a little, maybe just a little wave or something. There's just a little change, whether in color, whether in distance, there's a little change. And no matter how accurate or how thin you try to make the lens such that it won't change anything, something will change even if you don't notice it. So the bottom line is, as long as there's a lens in front of your eye, you're not seeing the thing that you were seeing exactly the same way you saw it when you had no lens on. Lenses change the way you see things. I could have just said that, okay? If there is a problem with summarizing things, I definitely have that. If there's a word for someone who struggles to say things in the shortest way possible, that is a perfect description of me. Anyways, it's a lens, right? Your mind is a lens. So whenever you look through life, you're looking through your mind. You're looking through your mind and you're seeing things around you based on your mind. And what is your mind made up of? Your mind is made up of your past, your experiences, your memories, everything that you have concluded about life till the point where you're at. Because remember, ever since you're born, your brain is always trying to decode life and to sort of set rules for you in your head, to sort of set things that will keep you alive for the longest time. If, for example, as a child, whenever you stood up against anything you were told, you always got reprimanded, then your brain will teach you as a child to not stand up against anything. If you were always taught that you need to do what you're told or you'll be reprimanded, then that's what your brain will take as a rule. And even as you grow up, you'll find that you find it hard to resist. You find it hard to say no. You find it hard to be against anything because it has been set in your brain as a rule. Because remember, when you're a child, you try and form rules and opinions about life because you've not experienced it. You try and look around and imitate what people are doing. And whenever you hear there's a voice that has been raised against something that you've done, you learn that you're not supposed to do that thing. Now, depending on how you were raised, you can end up setting rules in your head that are not right. Because of course there's some things you should not do. For example, you should not steal, and if you steal, voices need to be raised and possibly someone needs to be reprimanded. But for something like saying no, something that is not actually a mistake or a crime, if voices are raised when you do such things like saying no, and it's not really in a bad context, maybe just saying no to something that you genuinely don't want, and you get voices raised, then you learn as a child that I should never say no, I should never be against authority, I should always obey. And as you grow up, you find that even in situations where there is no authority, for example, a friend of yours asks you for a favor and you really don't want to do it, they are not the authority, there's no authority there, you're both on an equal playing field, you find yourself struggling to say no. You might be about to say no and then you're like, yeah, it's fine, no problem, I can do it, it's okay, it's fine, I have the time, I was actually not doing anything, and you were in the midst of doing something and you really didn't have the time, but you find yourself saying yes instead of saying no, because saying no, your brain has learned that that is a crime and that is something that can actually prevent us from surviving. That's exactly why your brain takes its job so seriously, because your brain is like, it is my job to keep you alive. It is my job to set rules for you so that you can stay alive for as long as you can, so that you can reproduce. The goal of evolution has always been reproduction and survival. So that is all your brain is wired to do. No matter how advanced human beings become, some functions always remain the same. It's just that we are becoming more and more aware of them as time goes by. So if your lens that is your mind, has been formatted in a way that you're not seeing things right. Of course, no one is really seeing things completely right, but if you find that your mind has been formatted by your life's experiences, things that you've gone through, heartbreaks that you've gone through, friendship breakups that you've gone through, every single thing that you go through in life molds you a certain way. And even if it doesn't mold you physically, it molds your brain and your mind a certain way. So if you find that you've gone through stuff that you've never taken time to process or to heal or to rewire or to find out like what those things did to you, then your lens is likely to be very cloudy. And remember, your lens is your mind. And your lens is how you see your life. You always have to look through your lens to see your life. And when you look through the lens of your mind to see your life, you will see yourself reflected back. You'll see your mind reflected back on you. So that all through life, all you're moving through, all you're experiencing, all you are interacting with is reality remolded by your mind. You don't interact with naked reality. Naked, quote unquote. You react with tinted reality that has passed through the filter and the lens of your mind and has come as a pink image into your eyes, such that when you look at your life, you don't see reality as it is. You see your mind and yourself reflected back to you. So now, having understood that, I hope you really understood that. If you did, congratulations, and congratulations to me for being able to put it out the way that I'm thinking about it. So if you think about that and now see it from a point of view where everyone else has lenses on, because everyone has a mind. Everyone is seeing life a different way because everyone's mind is different. Everyone's experiences, everyone's childhood, everyone's upbringing, everyone's life is different. Now, everyone else is looking through the lens of their mind. They are probably interpreting your actions a certain way when to you, your actions are not that way. They are seeing things the way that they are. Let me paint a visual picture for you. It's like everyone has a force field around them. The force field being their mind, and the force field is kind of translucent, transparent, such that they can see life and all that's going on around them, but through the force field. Then, does anyone ever truly interact with another human being? Or do you interact with the version of the human being that your mind has summed them up into? Has that sunk in? Do you ever really interact with who they are, or do you interact with who you've known them to be and who you have assumed or concluded or figured out that they are based on all the experiences you've had in your life with other people and with them? Because sometimes you find that if you meet someone and they strike a memory of someone else who was once like them, you find that you kind of treat them the same way. So do you ever really interact with other people? Or do you truly interact with other people? Do you truly connect with other people? Or do you connect with the version of yourself that you see in them? Okay. I need to sip water. Oh, I have a drink. I have water. So we're still keeping on the podcast guidelines, or I don't know what to call them. Yeah. Then what is connection really? What is connection if you never really interact with people as they actually are? You interact with the version that you know of them, or you interact with them the way your mind has concluded they are. What is connection? And is true connection possible? Is true connection possible if we only ever experience our minds? Oh, wait, is true connection then even necessary? Because if everyone else is a main character in their own lives, and we are side characters in their lives, and in our lives we are main characters and they are side characters, is anyone actually a main character? Wait, okay, that's a big one. Is anyone a main character? It's like in a game, a role-playing game where you have different characters and they each have different lives, and you can click on a character and go into their house and make them clean stuff and eat and do the dishes, and then you can zoom out and click on another character and make them do the same, or a different set of objectives like that, or just different chores. You can make them drive to the mall and then come back, and then you can pick another character and do the same thing. Is there a main character in that game? Is there a main character? If everyone is a main character and everyone is a side character, who is the main character and who is the side character? Riddle me this. Or is the main character the one who is able to zoom out and see everyone being main characters and side characters. Like how when you're playing a game, a role-playing game, where you can make different people main characters, as we've said, you can, click on one character, live their life, make them do this, that, and the other, zoom out, click on another character. In that game, you are actually the main character, right? You're just taking up roles within the people, and the people are not really the main characters, they are the side characters. So if the world is like that, who is the main character and who is the side character? Well, that's food for thought. I don't think there's an answer to that question. So I was asking, is true connection even possible if all we experience are our minds? And is true connection even necessary in that case? Do we really need to connect with the real version of every other person and every other thing? Okay, something has just struck me. For you to connect with the real version of every other person and every other thing, you will need to see through the same lens that they are seeing through, meaning you will need to see through their mind, meaning you will need to be them. For example, if you were able to step into their lives and experience their mind, their lens, then you would be able to understand why they are the way they are, and you would be able to understand how they are. Because most times you find that you don't actually know the people who are in your life, you just know the versions of them that you have interacted with, and you know the sides that they've shown you. But if you were to actually step into their lives, you would know who they are, how they are, and you would understand why they are the way they are. So for you to truly connect with another human being, does it mean that you have to be them? If we take that as the conclusion, that means that true connection isn't really necessary. We need to be everyone else for us to truly connect, but we cannot be that, meaning that we don't need to truly connect. We just need to make an attempt to connect. Okay, breathe, take a breath in, take a breath out, sip some water, relax. You're good, you're okay, you're not tripping. I'm probably the one who's tripping, but it's fine. Okay, so true connection isn't possible, based off of our little chart here. True connection isn't possible, but also true connection isn't necessary. You don't need to do all that to experience every other person's life for you to truly connect with them. It's fine. You don't need to go to such lengths, okay? So don't look for someone to help you switch bodies with anyone else. Please maintain your life. Stay in your lane. True connection isn't possible or necessary based off of our discussion. I'm not stating facts here. I'm just thinking out loud. So what then is connection? Do we even connect with each other? Let's think of connection like a scale of 1 to 10. When the scale is full, a 10 out of 10, that's true connection, which we've said is not possible or necessary. It might be possible. I don't know if you've heard of anyone who has lived someone else's life, but I know it might be possible. Then, still thinking of connection as a scale, we can't achieve the 10 out of 10. Maybe you can achieve the 9, the 8, the 7, the 1, the 2, and that is still connection. Then what is connection? If all of us are living in our bubbles and we're moving through life, knocking into each other in our bubbles and seeing life through our bubbles, then how do we even connect? If we can't really be in contact with each other, how do we connect? Or is connection merely our attempt to connect, knowing we can never fully connect? Is connection the attempt to bridge a gap? It's like you're on two different sides. You as one person are on one side of a cliff, and then there's a huge gap where, a bridge can be built. And then on the other side is the other person who you're trying to communicate with, you're trying to connect with. Is connection our attempt to bridge the gap? Is connection your attempt to bring a tree and try to put it across the gap, knowing the tree will never get to the other point? Is connection your attempt to build a bridge to get to the other side, knowing the bridge will never fully reach the other side? I'm tickling your brain, right? Is connection your attempt to connect? I know, it's crazy. I feel like I'm going crazy right now just thinking of it, but is it? Is connection your attempt to connect? Because you can never reach the other side unless you become them. You have their mind. Can two people have one mind and still be two people? What is the mind? Where does the mind exist? Is the mind the brain? No, it's not. I believe that we can never truly fully connect, and that it's not a must and it's not necessary for us to fully connect, but I believe that we can try to connect. And I truly believe that we connect with other people by trying to connect. And when we try to connect with other people, we think we have connected with other people when we have actually instead connected with a part of ourselves in other people. when you meet someone and you get excited and you connect with them and you, for example, spark a conversation and you feel like, wow, I've really connected with this person. Have you really enjoyed talking to them and conversing with them, or have you enjoyed finding a piece of yourself in them? Because why are you excited to have met them? Why do you feel like you've connected with them? Because it's like within you, you have fragments or broken pieces, and in every other person, there's a piece that completes your broken piece. So it's like when you meet someone who has another bit of your broken piece, they connect and you feel connection. But the broken pieces are never fully whole. It's not like the broken piece you're carrying is a half and the other person has the other half. You know, the way you say, oh, you're the other half of my heart or such things. It's more like the way when you break a vase, or it's a vase, not a vase. When you break a vase, it has very tiny pieces, broken pieces, you know, the shards, they're different sizes. The pieces have broken in multiple ways. But when you take two pieces, you connect them, they are whole, but at the same time, they are not whole. So it's like you as a human being, you've been shattered like a vase, and majority of the pieces or the blueprint of the pieces are within you. And then as you move through life, the people you connect with are people who hold certain pieces of your broken vase, such that when you connect with them, it's like two pieces of a broken vase connecting, such that it's whole, but it's not whole. What's going on? Where am I? What's happening? Did you get that? Did you get that? When you connect with someone else, they have some pieces of your whole, but when you connect the two pieces, the one you're carrying and the one they have, the pieces become whole, but the vase is not whole. Like those two pieces have connected, they are whole, but the vase is not whole. And it's like when you're moving through life, it's like your pieces have a magnetic force that goes trying to draw its other pieces to itself. And that's why sometimes when you meet, let's say, a group of people, you find that you feel connected to some of them and you don't feel connected to other people within the same group, because your pieces are pulling you towards certain people who have other holes, other pieces that would make you whole but not fully whole. They would make the pieces would become whole, but the vase would not become whole. And maybe life is all about moving through life, trying to find those pieces, knowing we can never fully connect the whole vase. I don't know what to say. I don't know what has happened in the past 40 minutes, but we have said a lot. I was initially talking about you're too close to yourself to see yourself as you need to. And now I've ended up talking about connection and do we ever truly connect, and a vase. I don't know how a vase made itself into this conversation. Well, I suppose that's life, you know? Maybe that's why when you meet some people, you say, I see so much of myself in you, because you actually see so much of yourself in another person, because they have pieces that need to connect with yours or pieces that do connect with yours. Maybe that's why we are all like weirdly connected. Maybe that's why human beings are relatable, because as a species, should we, I think in the characteristics for species, if you've done bio, they should add relatability, because every other organism in a species needs to be relatable to the other. Think about this, muse on this for a second. If all human beings were completely unique, such that there would be nothing that makes you relatable to another human being, are you really human beings? Are you in the same species? Even if you are physically the same, you have a brain, you have hands, you are literally, is it anatomically correct? Not correct, but anatomically similar. If you were not relatable to each other, would you call yourselves the same species? Okay, maybe you would call yourself the same species, but you would feel as if you were the only human being on Earth. You know, everyone is just like a different species of the same genus. Now we are talking biology. I don't know how we got here, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that maybe relatability is what makes us human, and it's also what makes us the same species, because we are relatable to each other. I feel like we have had so much to muse on today. I am going to be tripping as I edit this. Okay, Editor Lily here. I have actually been very much confused as I was editing this. It was so fun to edit, and every few minutes I was like, what what? How was I thinking like that? What is going on? You know? And it's crazy that at that time when I was recording, I knew I was going to be super, super stoked and confused when I was editing it, because that's currently what's happening. Anyways, back to the podcast, because I'm just going to be like, what was going on in my head? And I swear, it's just a normal day. I'm just seated, I'm taking a cup of water as I talk into my phone's microphone. It's a very normal day, but some very abnormal realizations have come my way. I like this so much. I like having nonsensical yaps, so we should do this more often. You know, I should sit down and just let my mind wander, and maybe by just giving my mind that time to roam, we will discover something. Just like Newton was seated underneath an apple tree, and an apple fell, and he was like, what the hell? How did that apple just fall? Why did it fall down and not up? Why does the apple fall from the tree, and why is falling coming down? You can never say something fell while it was actually rising. And maybe we might just be talking like this, and like Einstein, who was on a train heading somewhere, and he looked at the clock, he noticed the time seemed to be moving slower as the speed of his train was fast, and relativity somehow popped into his head. Maybe something might pop into your head while you're listening to these episodes, or into my head while I'm speaking or editing or interacting with my own podcast. I mean, that's the point of this whole podcast. It's to inspire thought. It's to inspire you to see life as bigger than you have known it to be. Maybe in a sense, this podcast is my attempt to connect, my attempt to bridge a gap that can never quite reach the other show. I wish you a lovely day. I wish you a lovely evening. I hope I've not spooked you out. I hope you're still sane. Go take your meds. I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing great. If you were having a lovely day, I hope your day is still as lovely. If you were having a bad day, I hope your day is better. If you were sad, I hope you're happier. If you were happy, I hope you're even happier. Genuinely, I just hope that you have a lovely time. Always remember that you're not the only one doing life. Everyone else is doing life. So don't feel like you're ever alone. Just remember that human beings are not as bad or as scary as they might seem to be in your head. If you need to reach out to someone, reach out to them. Grab yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and muse and ponder over everything. It's currently 4:26 p.m., 9th January. I'm seated on the edge of my mom's bed, musing.